Good afternoon. My name is Barbara Fuller, and as chair of the board, I welcome you to this virtual June 15th, 2021 regular meeting of the Washtenaw County Board of Road Commissioners. Our communications manager, Emily Kaiser, will now describe how our virtual meetings operate, how to access the agenda and packet, and how people may participate remotely. Emily.
Thanks, Commissioner. So if you would like to make public comment during the public comment portion of this meeting, I'll provide instructions at that time, and I will prompt you when we want you to virtually raise your hand. And then we will call on those with the raised hand. And this can be done either if you're joining us through your computer, the app, or through your touch-tone phone. The chat feature on this Zoom meeting is available, but only as technical support for users on their computer or smartphone. If you are experiencing technical issues with audio or video during the meeting, please submit a comment in the chat and I will try to help you troubleshoot. If you are a commissioner or a staff member and you're experiencing issues during the meeting, we ask that you contact the IT help desk and they'll be able to assist you. The audio and video of this meeting is being recorded, and a link to the video will be posted to wcroads.org in the next day or two. Today's meeting agenda is posted on wcroads.org as well, and there is a link available in the chat. I'm going to post it again right now. If you would like to, if you're joining us from your computer, you should be able to access that link and see the meeting agenda. Thanks, Commissioner.
Thank you, Emily. All right, I will now formally call this meeting to order. And Emily, Aaron, who is going to call the roll?
I'll be calling the roll today.
Thank you, if you would please.
Starting with Chair Barb Fuller.
Barb Fuller, participating remotely in Sharon Township, Washtenaw County, Michigan.
Vice Chair Rod Green.
Good afternoon. I'm Roderick Green. I'm participating from Superior Township.
Commissioner Doug Fuller.
Doug Fuller is present and is participating remotely from Scioto Township.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Good afternoon. This is Gloria Yamas, reporting from Pittsfield Township in Washtenaw County.
And Commissioner Joy McCollum.
Good afternoon. I am present and I am participating remotely from Ypsilanti Charter Township, Washtenaw County.
Managing Director Cheryl Siddle.
Present.
County Highway Engineer Matt McDonnell.
Present.
Director of Operations Jim Harmon is not here today. He is excused. Director of Finance and IT Dan Ackerman.
Here.
Thank you, Emily. At this time, I ask that we observe a moment of silence out of respect for those 600,000 Americans, including almost 21,000 Michiganders who have perished because of the COVID-19 virus. And while the trend in confirmed cases and deaths is improving, the only way to stop the virus is to achieve a 70% two-shot vaccination rate. To date, only 43% of Michiganders have been fully vaccinated, with less than 5% of the people missing their second dose. 2 doses is very important. We're more than halfway there. Thank you to everyone who's gotten themselves vaccinated and to those who continue to be vigilant about masking, social distancing, and hand washing. If we could now observe a moment of silence, please. Thank you. At this time, may I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Madam Chair, I'd like to motion to approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
I support.
Thank you. Any discussion, changes, deletions, anything at all? Hearing none. Emily, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Rod Green.
Yes.
Commissioner Doug Fuller.
Aye.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum.
Yes.
And Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. Next item is acceptance of the minutes. May I have a motion to accept the board meeting minutes of June 1st, 2021, appearing on pages 3 through 13 of the board packet?
Madam Chair, I move to accept the board meeting minutes of June 1st, 2021.
Is there a second?
support.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any comments, changes to the minutes as they've been circulated? Hearing none. Emily, if you would call the roll, please.
Commissioner Doug Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
yes,
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes,
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. Next item on the agenda is the public comment section. This is the time set aside on the agenda to receive comments from the public. This is not intended to be a period of dialogue. Each person will be allotted 3 minutes to address the board. Emily will now explain how people may be recognized to offer comments to the board. Emily?
Thanks, Commissioner. So if you would like to make public comment, we ask that you virtually raise your hand now. If you are viewing the meeting on your computer, you want to first make sure to click join audio, and then you want to look for either the participants button or the reactions button on the bottom of your screen. Then you should see on a raise hand button within that sub menu. If you dialed into the meeting from your touchtone phone, you can raise your hand by dialing *9. I will unmute participants with raised hands one at a time. I will announce your username or the last 4 digits of your phone number when it's your turn to speak. Please share your name and address before beginning your comments. So it does look like we have a hand raised. This is a phone number ending in 2306. You should be able to unmute yourself.
And if you would please identify yourself so we know who we're hearing from, not speaking with, but hearing from.
I'm sorry. Yes,
Yeah,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
It took me a minute to figure to unmute. My name is David Collins, new resident in Lodi Township, out at 4936 Waters. Very minor issue. Almost hesitate to bring it before the entire board, but I had just spoke with my commissioner last night on it, and she recommended I could call. Just a traffic signage and line issue on South Waters Road that I've noticed, which is part of my new daily commute. The 1000 and 2000 block of South Waters, north of Scioto Church Road and Waters Road, there are a couple of sections on the southbound traffic where there are what appear rather intuitively and unambiguously to be right-hand passing lanes around high left turn traffic intersections, 2 at the WISD building and 1 at the Orchard Grove community. And they appear constructed specifically for this purpose, and in my observations so far seem universally used for it regularly. Everybody passes on the right, but the white lines, the fog lines on the right are unbroken. I checked with the sheriff's department and a state police officer, and they both said that the unbroken white lines make the right-hand passing illegal. So someone can be pulled over and cited for illegally passing on the right there. I just wanted to suggest a non-urgent issue, something to do in the coming years or whenever line painting is revisited, but that this be looked at if those lanes, the shoulder extensions, which clearly appear made for passing left turn traffic, if they're still intended for that, I hope that the road commission can have the lines revisited with broken lines put in to actually make the right-hand passing legal. If they were constructed for some other reason or were previously right-hand passing lanes and then decided against, and they're intended not to be used for that, it seems from their universal use for that purpose that more signage is needed, either a double white line or signage saying do not pass on the right. So either way, it intuitively, to any driver coming through, it appears as though it's intended to pass left turn traffic. And that's what it's used for, but technically it's illegal, which could be used as preemptive stops by police. I don't know if they actively enforce. But anyway, very minor issue. Just wanted to bring it up to be reviewed and looked at whenever maintenance on that section of road comes up again. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Collins, and welcome to Lodi Township. Emily?
See, I don't see any other hands raised at this time. Again, if you would like to make public comment, you can do so by dialing *9 if you're joining us from your touch tone phone, or by looking for the participants button or the reactions button at the bottom of your screen on your computer or your smartphone app. And you should see under that reactions or participants, you should see a raised hand button. Depends on what version of Zoom you have. They recently have moved it. So I don't see any other raised hands at this time, Commissioner.
Thank you, Emily. The next item on the agenda is written communications. Those appear on page, the summary and comments on pages 14 through 37 of the packet. Commissioners, do you have anything you'd like to point out, draw our attention to, remark on at this time?
Chair, through the chair.
Yeah,
wanna-
I'm sorry, Commissioner, I didn't see you. Go
That's
ahead.
I want to thank Cheryl for all of her responses to the public. Looked like there was a mobilization to bring our attention to illumination, and Cheryl handled it very well. She replied to every single email that came in, and hopefully this satisfies the citizens to know that we're aware and working on those projects. And I want to thank Cheryl for her quick response to all of the communique that came in.
Thank you. Thanks, Commissioner. Anyone else?
Join
Commissioner- Go ahead, Rod.
thank you. I'd also like to join in commending our managing director in the way she handled that. And as Commissioner Yamas has already indicated, she answered each and every email that she received, and it was well written, well thought out, and very responsive. So I thank her again.
Thank you. All right. If there are no further comments about the written communications, we will.
Madam Chair?
Oh,
I'm sorry,
yes,
I didn't get a chance to raise my hand, trying to find the button and everything.
Go ahead,
I-
Commissioner McCollum.
I just want to echo with what Commissioner Yamas and Commissioner Green has said about the work that Cheryl did with the lighting and things like that, how it all just came together, and the turnaround seemed very quick too. So Cheryl, I believe you are a good representation of the Road Commission, so thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Fuller, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, but thank you.
All
for
right.
asking.
No sense in piling on, Cheryl, sorry. Let's move on to Commissioner and staff follow-up to public comment. Would anyone like to respond to Mr. Collins' concern at this time?
Commissioner Fuller, if I may.
Please.
We'll have staff go out and take a look. There is specific criteria as to whether or not we do allow passing on the right, and whether there's enough pavement there for that to happen and how that is properly marked. It sounds like Mr. Collins is at least aware of the fact that there are criteria to be followed. So we can certainly go out and take a look at that, and then we can follow back up and let him know whether or not those criteria are met, or whether there are additional measures that we could take to clarify what that situation may be at both of those locations.
Very good. And Mr. Collins, please make sure we know how to reach you, if you haven't already done so. Any other comments in response to Mr. Collins? All right, let's move along. Next item on the agenda is new business, the consent agenda. Items appear on pages 38 through 52. May I have a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented? Items 1 through 4.
Madam Chair, I move adoption of the consent agenda as presented for items 1 through 4.
Is there a second? I saw Commissioner McCollum's lips move.
Sorry, I was real quick with that button, that mute button. I support.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. Emily, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Doug Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. Next on the agenda are action items. The first one is a haul route road improvement agreement. Those materials were provided to us, I believe, today by our Director of Engineering and County Highway Engineer, Mr. McDonnell. Managing Director, is it your desire to have him speak to this item, or were you going to? How are we going to handle this?
Well, I was going to just very quickly hand it over to Matt McDonnell. I do appreciate the flexibility with this board. This is something that came up very, very quickly. We don't like to surprise any of you with materials. We like to have you, well, in advance of the board meetings so that you have an opportunity to review and formulate questions and all of those types of things. But this was an unusual situation that came before us, an opportunity that we felt was important for our organization to take advantage of. So I will thank you for that. And then I will hand it over to Matt to explain all the details of this particular agreement that we are proposing.
So what we'll do is hear from Matt McDonnell on this item, and then I would be grateful to have someone make the motion that appears on the top of page 41 of our packet. Mr. McDonnell.
Well, thank you. What you have before you is a haul route improvement agreement. We have a situation where we have an existing haul route from Stoneco. That haul route improvement agreement, I believe, was approved last year, and improvements to the haul route, which would include Pleasant Lake and Ann Arbor Saline Road, were accomplished last year at the expense of the haul route recipient that got a permit, which was Stoneco. Also, there is another gravel pit just west of the Stoneco's pit along Pleasant Lake Road. The company that owns that pit is Levy Company. Levy Company applied for a haul route here recently and would like access to the haul route of the same route, Pleasant Lake to Ann Arbor Saline Road. In addition to that, a third part is that we had planned as part of the millage projects to improve Pleasant Lake Road between Steinbach and Schneider, and that's where the pit's located. So essentially that project was scheduled and ready to take place. And as a condition of permit, generally speaking, what we're doing is we're permitting them the ability to carry a heavier load on a normal route. And as a condition of permit, they are to improve and keep in good condition that haul route. And we've done this historically for many, many years, and they've been good partners, these haulers, and they've invested millions of dollars into these haul routes. And it's been a good partnership. So we look to extend this partnership with this haul route improvement agreement that's before you today, whereby Levy Company is going to pay for half of the costs of the millage project. And it just so happens that their pit entrance is about halfway between the project limits. So ultimately, they've agreed to pay for half the cost of the project. In addition, they have agreed to reimburse Stoneco for a fair portion of the cost of improvements of what was done last year. That's all been agreed to. We have signed road improvement agreement that was distributed by myself, and both Stoneco and Levy have signed off on it. So that's what I have before you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Commissioners, does anyone have any questions or comments about what Matt has just described?
Nope.
All right. If someone would please offer the motion that appears on the top of page 41 of our packet.
And Chair, that upon the recommendation of County Highway Engineer and Director of Engineering and concurrence of the Managing Director, the board hereby approves and authorizes the Managing Director to sign the road improvement agreement between the Washtenaw County Road Commission and Edward C. Levy Company for financial contributions to the haul route in connection with a designated haul route permit.
May I have a second?
Certainly.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Emily, if you would call the roll, please.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Doug Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yeah, sorry, yes.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. Next item on the agenda is item number 2. May I have a motion for casting our ballot for 1 at-large and 2 Southern District representatives for the Michigan County Road Commission Self-Insurance Pool Board of Directors? Commissioner McCollum.
Yes. Just a moment, please. Yes.
And while she's looking for the exact words with, it appears on page 41 again of our packet under item number 2. Commissioner McCollum.
Okay. So I hope I have this right. I motion that the board hereby votes for John Rogers to serve as the at-large director and Doug Fuller and Tim Hagsma to serve as the Southern Directors on the Michigan County Road Self-Insurance Pool Board of Directors.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
I second. I'm sorry.
Okay, we have a second, we have a third. Thank you. Any comments, discussion at all? Hearing none. Emily, if you would call the roll, please.
Commissioner Doug Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. Next item on the agenda is approval of an acquisition of an easement at the Liberty and Zeeb Road intersection. The resolution appears on page 42 of the packet. May I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I motion that,
Oh,
I'm sorry. Go ahead,
Go ahead.
Commissioner Green.
Madam Chair, I move that upon the recommendation of the County Highway Engineer, Director of Engineering, and concurrence of the Managing Director, the board hereby approves the acquisition of an 800 square foot or 0.018 acre public road easement, more particularly described in attachment A, from the owner, Jerry R. McBride and Cheryl R. McBride, Revocable Living Trust and/or Martin Place LLC, and Michigan Limited Liability Company, upon a parcel of property commonly known as 5476 West Liberty Road, Scioto Township, Michigan, and referred to as tax parcel number H 0827300006 in the amount of $5,200.
Do I have a second?
Yes, you do. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Gloria.
Commissioner Yamas seconded the motion. Is there discussion? Hearing none. Emily?
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Doug Fuller,
Aye.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. Next items on our agenda are reports. Do we have a county commissioner with us today? I don't
do.
see.
We do not. I don't see any county commissioner with us today.
All right. Road commissioner reports would be the next item. Commissioner McCollum, do you have a report for the board?
I do. On June 1st, I contacted Representative Peterson and Senator Irwin regarding bills FY 2022 Transportation Budget Bill and the two FY 2021 Supplemental Appropriations Bills that would allocate next year's transportation funding, but also have the potential to make a historic one-time total of $526 million available for the local bridge bundling program, filling over half our $900 million local bridge problem. On June 21st, I also received a response from Senator Irwin on June 10th, stating that he did support these two bills. On June 2nd, I attended the virtual meeting on the US 12 M17 improvements project that is taking place right now. On June 7th, I completed the technology security training. Thank you.
Did you submit that report in writing to Aaron for inclusion in the board minutes?
I sent it to
Emily?
Tiffany, and
Tiffany.
then she let me know that from now on to send it to Aaron. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you for doing that. It just really helps make sure we record remarks accurately. I appreciate it. Commissioner Green, do you have a report?
Just to mention that I served as a CHAT commissioner on July the 9th, and I intend to be in attendance at the SIMCOG meeting on July 24th.
Thank you. Commissioner Yamas.
So I reviewed and contributed to Sedell's performance appraisal. I completed all 3 internet security trainings recommended by our IT team. I reviewed the telecommuting policy. I went to examine the completed Miller Road project. It's beautiful. Great job, Matt. And I viewed the Ford Road resurfacing project on YouTube. And thank you for putting that on YouTube. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Doug Fuller.
No report.
No report. Commissioner Barb Fuller, on May 19th, I was the assigned road commissioner to a chat session, and we had one visitor, Marie Sklad, who is a volunteer with the Bird Center of Michigan in Pittsfield Township. Learned something new that day. I didn't know we had a bird center. On June 1st, there was a board meeting that I was out of town, and I want to express my appreciation to Commissioner Roderick Green for chairing that meeting in my absence. Also want to underscore Chris Quinter, director, well, no, he's not. He's IT manager, I guess. Underscore his plea for all of us to make sure that we regularly check in using our VPNs to keep our computers updated so that we can maximize our ability to perform our duties as commissioners, including digital signatures. That concludes my report. We will move on to the managing director and staff reports. The staff reports begin on page 69. I turn it over to Cheryl.
All right, thank you. Obviously, we have a lot going on these days, especially with respect to our various road projects, our chip seal operation, routine maintenance, executing all the work that was agreed to under the township agreements. So staff is going in a whole bunch of different directions. I'd be happy to entertain any questions that you have on the staff report. And the other thing that I will just bring you up to speed on before I turn it over to the other directors is that, again, all things COVID, we continue to pay close attention to what is going on the state and county fronts, and specifically with respect to MIOSHA, if there's any change in guidance there. Right now, our intent is to open the lobby to the public, and we've determined that July 12th is the date that makes the most sense for that. especially in light, and thank you very much for approving the telecommuting policy. We'd like to get staff schedules in place so that we determine who's going to be here in coverage and all of those things, and make sure again that we are properly staffed in order to and to support the public now entering the building and what that's going to look like. Frankly, it is comforting to be entering this stage, so to speak, of the pandemic as we're starting to talk about all the positive things, and look forward to sort of this next stage as we are able to better engage with each other and with the public, and obviously continue to serve the public as we have been all along. So any questions for me?
I would just like to underscore that we're learning as we go. My compliments to staff for preparing the telecommuting policy. It's a very complicated transition that we're about to embark on. And I would alert both the board and staff and public members that are listening in and others that we may need to make changes again. I mean, we have no idea what the next month, 2 months, 6 months will mean for this whole situation. So I applaud everyone's willingness to take a step and try and redefine how we work here at the Road Commission based on what we learned during these first, 15, 16 months of the pandemic. But be advised that this is not in stone, and we may be asking again for some revisions to this. And again, in resolutions passed, we have authorized the managing director to act in the best interest of this organization. So in the event that she needs to move quickly due to changing circumstances, she has our authorization and support to do exactly that.
Thank you. And thank you for your overwhelming support. I really do appreciate it. The last 15 months, we have had to, and I have said that we were going to ban the word pivot, but we've certainly had to move quickly on a variety of fronts. I do think we're headed in a good direction. Again, this seems to just to feel better. But if we can, learn something positive over the last 15 months, we've been able to make things work remotely. So this has been a wonderful opportunity to learn to do things differently. And I'd like to think that these are some of the things that can be the positives coming out of this. And incorporate them into our business practices moving forward. So I think we are headed in the right direction, although I do reserve the right to make changes as necessary, because I do think that they are likely to come as well. So I'd be happy to hand it over to Matt to talk about engineering.
Yeah, I just want to point out a couple of virtual meetings coming up. We have an information meeting for the Pontiac Trail and North Territorial Roundabout project next Thursday, the 23rd at 11 a.m. And then we're working on scheduling a bridge bridge project meeting for the following day at 11 a.m. I'm sorry, the 23rd is a Wednesday. And then the Thursday is the 24th for the Bridge Road public information meeting. Just to update on what we're doing in construction there. It is going to be a full closure, and it's going to be coming here shortly. So the contractor had some available crews and asked if they could move the schedule up. Contractually, that's acceptable, but we need to let the public know what's going on. We're going to do that through the virtual meeting. So message boards will get posted, and invitations have gone out for the Pontiac Trail and North Territorial. That's a roundabout project that's scheduled for 2022 construction, so next year. So we're working on the design and are getting further and further along with that. So I'm bringing that to your attention. Construction project updates continue to go out. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer anything.
An amazing amount of work being done out there. I just can't believe how quickly you all are moving along. The orchestration is impressive. Anyone with questions or comments for Matt? Back to you, Cheryl.
Commissioner McCollum?
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna say that the US 12 and M17 is just good work is being done there. The detours and things like that, people seem to be picking up very quickly. I haven't heard any any negative comments about it, and so we know it's just going to be temporary, all of the adjustments, and we know it's going to be beautiful afterwards. So thank you.
Yeah, the major infrastructure projects like that are certainly very impactful, but it's going to be a great project for the community. Our consultant, OHM Advisors, is doing a great job of communicating to the residents, the township, the road commission, and MDOT. So if we have any questions, I can certainly take them, but we feel free to contact them directly. They do a good job of responding.
Yes, most of our construction projects, we kind of make a mess in the middle, but at the end we'd like to think that it's worthwhile. Dan, do you want to bring us up to speed in finance and IT?
Sure, thanks, Cheryl. Good afternoon, everybody. The finance department is definitely hopping with new people and new positions, and just the ongoing training and everybody kind of settling in and the organization getting used to who's doing what. So that continues to be an ongoing situation, but we're moving into all areas of finance and just doing what we can to get up to speed. Besides that, I've been working on finalizing the requirements for Public Act 202 for its report required by the state of Michigan to report our pension and healthcare costs. And it's an annual thing we have to do. Certainly, hopefully you remember last year we had to go through that as well. Yeah. But it's a requirement by the end of this month. So trying to finalize that and getting that submitted on time. We finished all the first township billings, which again, the operations department does a great job of drumming up lots of work and partnering with all our townships. And so we finalized all the bills, and we're working on with operations kind of a check and balance sort of thing. And hopefully we can send all those out soon. And also, believe it or not, we're starting to look at the second quarter budget, which I believe the next working session will be talking about the second quarter budget as well as projections for 2022 and 2023. So that'll be a nice window into what the future is looking like at the road commission, at least financially. And then on the IT front, the last board meeting, I had shared with all of you that we were going to offer cybersecurity training, and I believe that afternoon or the next morning, Chris was very timely in sharing that with all of you. And we had some great compliance as far as those of you that have taken the training. And if you haven't, I encourage you to do it sooner rather than later. I guess I'll say the due date. I wasn't going to, but we'd like you to complete it by August 2nd. But if you could complete that training sooner rather than later, we'd appreciate it. Been a lot of great feedback from our employees. As a matter of fact, some of our employees would like to share that with loved ones that they just thought that the training was so good. And again, you could use it in your personal life as far as, all of us have personal email accounts. And so some were asking about, is that something that they could let their family members go through the training? So we find it's very effective. The format, it's nice and short, and kind of grabs your attention. And so far it's been very well received. But we want to make sure that everyone participates in that training again before August 2nd. There's also been several phishing tests that have gone out, and if you're not familiar with that term, it basically is a spoof of an email, and the goal is for employees to recognize that it's fake and to let IT know about it, and not go clicking on links, because that's how the bad guys get our information. Very, very timely. I don't know if everybody's been following all the ransomware issues that have been taking place. There's a pipeline that was hit, and they paid, I want to say, $5 million. The meatpacking industry got hit. And it just continues to be a common occurrence. And I believe the federal government's trying to highlight how grave an issue this is. And I think they're trying to compare ransomware attacks with acts of terrorism to really get more attention at the federal level. And the FBI, they actually intercepted one of the payments that the pipeline folks made. So that's a new tactic that they're trying, you know, because if the bad guys are not getting their money, then, you know, maybe they'll back down, or probably unfortunately find another way to steal information. But I think it's good that it's getting more attention at the federal level. It definitely is becoming more of a common occurrence. And, you know, certainly you have good antivirus, you have a good network, good backups, and then, you know, couple that with our user training that we're providing for cybersecurity, and it'll be an ongoing sort of thing. You know, just like for those that are trying to commit fraud, the goal is to try and stay one step ahead as best we can. And, you know, we're trying to do everything we can to do so. And that's all I have, unless there's any questions.
So Dan, where do we find the link or to sign up for this cybersecurity training, which I assume is a webinar?
Correct. Yep. So
And
Chris,
how long is it? Is it an hour? Is it 10 minutes?
I think there's, I believe there's 2 sessions, and they're about maybe 20 minutes long tops, and there's certain sections within those. Barb, I can resend that link to you. And if you have any questions, obviously contact myself or Chris or Josh, and we can help you.
Okay.
But I'll go ahead and forward that to you. And if anybody else needs it, feel free to let me know, and I'll resend that to you. But you know, it's really well done. The training's very well done.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So through the chair, I have to say, Dan, I was surprised because I think that I'm, you know, on top of it.
Yeah.
So I took the test and I got 2 wrong, and I'm like, what? I knew I was going to get 100%,
yeah.
but it was very enlightening.
Yes.
Because I have checked a lot of those tricks I know of. So it was very good training.
And Gloria, there's a lot of pressure on me as the director of IT. I'm like, I don't want Chris to get upset at me as far as if I miss any, and I missed one as well. So, you know, some of it's really tricky, but I think it is good to go through, and I think we can all learn, you know, several things from it. And again, not just work related. So I think it's, you know, it's great, and hopefully we can continue this kind of training in the future.
Yeah, I think I did miss one thing that, because I believe I received a phishing one and I just deleted it and blocked it.
Okay.
And I thought about that. It's like, should have I called IT and let them know? So they want to know every time something comes in.
Yeah, there's a way to report it to IT. If you look in Outlook, there's at the top on the toolbar at the top, it says report this as spam, I believe. So, you know, kind of look at that. But certainly, Gloria, by not clicking on things and deleting it, I mean, that's appropriate too. You know, the main concern is obviously, you know, falling for it, clicking on the link, and then taking it even further. So Chris was sharing with me, IT can look at all of that. They can see all the users that received it. Did they click on it? How far did they go? So it's a good way to, you know, kind of see who's potentially falling for that, and do we need to provide a little extra education? Again, just making sure that we protect the integrity of our network.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you, Dan, for that. And for those who have not done the training, it goes by relatively quick. I think it is somewhere between 30 and 40 minutes. It's not terribly long. It's actually in little tiny segments, each of which is about somewhere between 1 and 2 minutes in length. So it's easy to follow as you're going through it. And if you have to pause it, you can, and you can come back and that type of thing. So it is critical that we have that awareness. And like Dan said, we've started trying to have some of these intentionally out there as an effort to find out, do we have weaknesses? And if so, can we better educate so that people do understand the importance and what to be looking for when those types of things are coming in. So appreciate your support and participation in that as well. And then finally, there were several other additional reports included within the board packet, the communications report, the recruiting report, and then the monthly WCRC Fix-It report that we do send to the county board as well. That was all included. If you had any questions on that as well, I'd be happy to answer them. All right, with that, that completes staff reports.
Thank you, Cheryl. At this time, Commissioner Doug Fuller, if you could make a motion to go into closed session.
Be happy to. Pursuant to Section 7 of the Open Meetings Act, for the purpose of considering settlement of the lawsuit WCRC versus Mildred Shankle, case number 19-1020-CC, and for the reason that discussion of settlement in open session would have a detrimental financial effect on the litigation and settlement position of the Road Commission.
Is there a second?
Support.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, well, Emily, if you could call the roll.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Doug Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. And Emily, if you would take a moment to pause the recording, and I want to thank everyone who's been with us during this part of the regular meeting, and Emily will explain how this closed session interlude works.
Thanks, Commissioner. So if you are not a road commissioner or a designated staff member, I will now move you to the virtual waiting room. If you would like to be returned to the open session of the meeting once we have completed the closed session, please remain in the waiting room. I will readmit you once the closed session has been completed.
Thank you, Emily. Commissioner Doug Fuller, may I have a motion, please?
Certainly you may. That upon the recommendation of the county highway engineer, director of engineering, and the concurrence of the managing director, and upon the recommendation of council, the board hereby authorizes staff and council to settle the lawsuit Board of Road Commissioners for Washtenaw County versus Mildred Shankle, case number 19-1020-CC, on the terms recommended by council.
Support.
Thank you. Seconded by Commissioner Green. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Emily, if you would call the roll.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Doug Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. There being no further business before this board, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Commissioner Yamas moves. Who seconds?
Doug Fuller.
Commissioner Doug Fuller seconds. If you would call the roll, please, Emily.
Commissioner Doug Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. Thank you, everyone, for your patience and your participation. This meeting is adjourned.